Welcome back, dear listeners, to another episode of Money 911, where we uncover the secrets to health, wealth, and peace of mind. I'm your host, Chris Miller, and today, we're diving deep into the heart. We're talking about something that touches every dollar you make, every choice you face, and every future you dream about: your emotional health. Joining us is the incredible Dr. Karthik Ramanan, known as Dr. K, a former Wall Street high flyer who walked away from the grind to become a naturopathic physician and emotional health mentor. He's the best-selling author of The Emotionally Healthy You, a sought-after speaker and the trusted guide for entrepreneurs and executives who want to break free from burnout and truly love their lives. Get ready, because today we're exploring how emotional well-being is the missing link to your financial health, your success, and your happiness. Buckle up. This conversation could change the way you see money and yourself forever. All right, Dr. K. I like to call you Dr. K. Easier to say, Dr. K. So I just really happy to have you here. Thank you so much for joining.
I'm excited to be here. And yes, Dr. K is definitely the easier way to go for sure.
Right. If you want to pronounce your name, you're welcome to. I'm
Dr. Karthik Ramanan, but I do go by Dr. K.
Okay, because I didn't want to screw it up. There you go. Okay. So your Wall Street journey, right? Your story is so powerful. What was the moment, we get right into it, that you realized success without emotional health was no success at all?
Yeah, it was, when you jump into any profession or any endeavor and you already have, let's say, a high achiever mindset or a perfectionist mindset, what you want to do is you go in and achieve all that there is to achieve. Now, what I didn't realize is that back at that time was that the driver behind that desire to achieve, we need to understand that for ourselves. I didn't understand it at the time. My drive came from a place of feeling like I wasn't good enough. And so I always had to prove that I was. And so when I get to that next promotion, when I get to that next level, then I'll be happy, then I'll feel successful. And what I found as my 20s progressed, I was very fortunate that I was able to certainly, survive during the Great Recession, all the layoffs that were occurring in the industry and across industries at that time. But I had an opportunity to start to be a part of a team that was started within the organization that was a brand new premise on the street at the time. And so what we did was had an opportunity there to build something that hadn't been done. And so I took the bull by the horns. We all did. And thankfully we were rewarded for it as time went on. And so that propelled me to make the associate and then the VP promotion faster than anyone in my department had to that point. And I just had this moment at 27 years old where I had my own apartment for the first time in my life, beautiful studio, skyrise, 30th floor. I was able to pay off my undergraduate student loans way faster than I ever thought I could, giving more to charity than I thought I could at that age. I paid off my parents' credit card debt. And I hated the man in the mirror. There was no level of success that actually made me feel good about myself. And so that was my wake-up call. Actually, when I got the promotion to VP and the senior managers told me that news, like, and this is something that I had worked tirelessly for from the moment I stepped foot there. 5 years. The moment they told me, you've been, congratulations, right? 4 seconds later in my head, okay, what next? Right?
Right.
And that could have been my first sign that something here is not
Mhm.
Not in a healthy position to be able to sustain this long term. And so that just led to, hitting rock bottom and having to reevaluate, what is this all for? What do I really want out of life?
Right. There's really never there, and it's always this, it's so staying in a success in the moment. You got to be there already because there is no there. There's a book called Hind's Feet on High Places, right? Where, you get to the top of the mountain, and it's like, look up and there is another one to climb up. But, you talk about owning your past. So, how can unresolved emotional wounds, and that's a lot of everybody, quietly shape how people handle money?
Hmm. Absolutely, definitely from a financial standpoint, and it applies in so many other ways too. And here's the link too, especially with with the financial side, is we develop our brain and the lens through which we see the world. Everything that we sense that comes in and everything that we act that goes out is processed through this computer between our ears. And how it was developed is from past experience. Because think about a baby and the amount of survivability a baby has and skills. It's very little, next to nothing, right? Crying, feeding, and everything else we learned from that point forward. And so the events that occur, especially early on in life when our brains are forming, shape how we perceive and how we handle things going forward. And so if we've witnessed certain things like a financial struggle at home or any other kinds of struggle, that becomes something that we pay closer attention to in different formats throughout life. Sometimes that will serve us, right? We talked about perfectionism earlier. If you go through that feeling of, oh, I'm not good enough, that one way to compensate for that is working harder. And if you get, you might be called a go-getter and a high achiever and all that stuff, and you might have the outcomes to show for it, but then you have all the other outcomes to also show for it. And so when we understand the lens through which we see the world, that is the starting point to recognize, okay, which of these things can I lean into and which ones do I want to lean away from? But especially when it comes to finances, when we look at human needs, stability, belonging, growth, purpose, stability is out in, these are needs that we have for out in nature for survival. We're made for nature, not this crazy modern world we live in. And out in nature, that's food, shelter, water, right? Our close knit family, all that stuff, right? The support system. That ensures survivability in nature. In our modern world, food, water, shelter comes from money, right? And so the when we're in a difficult financial situation, why does that feel so much worse than many other difficult situations, right? There's almost a sense of doom, when we suddenly lose our job, or, if you're a business owner and you lose a significant client out of nowhere. That feeling of, I'm not going to survive this, is built from nature. It's okay. Now all of a sudden, stability is out the window. How am I going to survive this? But once we understand that, we can understand how we process emotions, how we handle emotions. Then we can look at certain things much more objectively. And I think, especially with money, being able to look at money objectively is vital at any stage of life.
Most entrepreneurs and executives and everybody ties their self-worth to their net worth. And
Mm-hmm.
that, I think that understanding is, people are waking up to that the real success, what the real success is, and getting more back to, family and values and give back and all of that. But what kind of emotional habits, you know, like you were saying, the way you were brought up, like I was brought up, my sweet daddy, he taught me how to save. So that's why you know, my mindset's already there. It's not a big deal because that's just the way I was brought up. And there's emotional habits and patterns. What are the main ones you see often blocking people from their financial freedom or peace of mind.
Well, I think let's take the business owner as the first example, especially if they're a service-based business where they provide the service.
Hmm.
What I've found time and again in the business owners I've worked with is the pricing of their service is directly tied to their self-image. They might cognitively, rationally believe that, yes, I'm a great accountant, let's say, right? But why are the rates lower? Well, people aren't, this is what the going rate is, or you hear all those reasons, right? But you just told me that you're really, really good at what you do. You've been doing this for a long time, right? And so if the pricing doesn't match our self-image, right, that can be one area that it's going to affect, what we can generate. But the same thing can be true as an employee as well. If we're able to see ourselves more objectively and what we bring to the table, but also be able to think about what we offer the company that is unique and different and shows that we're thinking holistically from a big picture perspective. Now all of a sudden that person, monetarily to the company becomes a much stronger investment. But if that person doesn't see it for themselves, or they can't articulate it for themselves because they're blocked by, yeah, but maybe I only get paid this much because that's all all I'm worth. That can happen too. And so when we can really look at ourselves much more objectively and understand, why do I feel the way I feel about myself? What are the blocks in the way? What's holding me back from being who I want to be? And then say, okay, well, how do I get out of that way, out of my own way, and go after what it is that I actually need and not what I think that I want? And what I've also found too, and I'm sure you have as well, Chris, is that when we go after things with an intense purpose and passion, and it's in the service of others, the money just shows up.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. The passion, the purpose, about halfway through in my business career, I shifted, because I had successful business. And what I saw was when midlife, I just took the business and it's how can I use this to help millions of people? So I made this shift of taking it more for give back. And boy, that's just what you talked about. The whole thing shifted and all kinds of opportunities showed up that, right, weren't there before. And people like they're listening to the voices in their brain on the feeling trapped and in scarcity and lots of guilt around money. What would you say the first loving step they could take towards healing would be?
I think it's first understanding what that relationship with money is and what it really means. So, for instance, a lot of people who see themselves as being good human beings, right? Good giving people, and never, ever, ever want to be seen as egotistical or self-absorbed or materialistic and any of those things. So if that person also has this framework in their mind that wealthy people are jerks and self-centered and materialistic and all that stuff, they will never become a wealthy person, right? No matter how much they say they want to,
Right.
because it's in opposition with who they see themselves to be. But the thing to then examine is that, okay, why did I have that assumption about wealthy people in the first place? And oftentimes it could be the messaging that we had growing up or things that we saw. Maybe it was one person's bad example that we saw that, automatically gets extrapolated to everybody else. And then even when we see examples of, let's say, people who have made a great living and contribute amazing things to the world, that we're not able to give them enough credit, or we just see that as the outlier rather than actually this might be a lot more common than you think, right? And one of the things that I think I had to go through myself, and I recognize not everybody will, can go through something like this, but in my corporate career, there was one year where the firm did very well and I did very well. It coincided at the same year. And so I got a significant raise that year. Enough of a significant raise that it shifted effectively the value of a dollar in terms of my rent and food and all that stuff, right? Um, it was significant. And actually, the first thought that went into my head was, uh oh, am I going to become a fill in the blank, right? Something negative. And I realized going forward that no, actually, I'm doing more with that money. I'm giving it to causes that I believe in and I feel good about that. I can get involved in things like and so that was the first realization to go that wait, does money change people or does it just amplify who we already are? And if you get to experience that for yourself, then it becomes a lot easier to shift our framework around money. But that's one thing I would encourage is to just recognize what are the assumptions that we make and where do they come from?
Right.
Not about what's right and wrong. It's not about what's right and wrong, just objectively.
Yeah, because
What's there?
money's just an instrument. It's a tool, it's an energy, right? But
Yeah,
it isn't the end all be all. It's just something that we use that can transform what we want to change. But whether you have it or don't have it, really comes down to, who you are. Like lately at this point in my life, when I'm, a national speaker and I go out and talk to lots of people, I'm finding now my real money are heart connections because I take them with me wherever I go. And when I transition, right, transform out of this world, literally, I'm taking all that with me. I'm not taking my bank accounts,
that's right.
all of those things. I know we say that it's not a new thing, but sometimes repetition can, cause the rhythm to change in people and they can sing a new song, right?
Absolutely. And actually you said one word in there that really resonates with me with money, energy,
Right.
right?
Right.
If you think of money as just a placeholder for an exchange of energy. So uh, I wrote a book recently, and in doing so, I hired a team that helped me with the editing and design and everything else. So what happened there? I was exchanging money with them, right? And they use that in part for hiring, outsourced help in terms of SEO, video, stuff like that. So let's say it goes to the video production company for some other client work that gets done, or for themselves. Now that video production company might then spend that same $100 with their accountant, right? And maybe that accountant is my client in the emotional health programs for business owners, right? And now that same $100, because we've exchanged services along the way, that same $100 has served as a placeholder to exchange energy between four different entities. And it's all that is a placeholder for a barter system where maybe I didn't, okay, the accountant is in my program, but maybe I already have another accountant and I don't need that accountant's services. But that's okay because we have this intermediary of money, which is just an exchange of energy. And when we start looking at it like that, it takes away all the connotations and it can just be whatever we need it to be to live a purposeful life.
Right. Exactly. Well, you know, I know what a lot of people are kind of feeling burned out, a lot of people feeling empty, even like we said, despite financial success, without lots of grief. What would you tell them? What if you had one message you could tell people that are just burnt? What would you tell them?
It's easy to say focus on what you can control when you're feeling remotely good, even just a little bit. When you're completely spent, even that feels overwhelming. Sometimes we think that the solution to burnout is to do something else. Sometimes the starting point is to just do less. What can you take off your plate? What's something that you tolerate on a day in and day out basis that just takes that little bit of energy? Instead, what if you could take the thing out and then replace it with something that makes you feel alive? So, an example of the latter, I had a client who started working with me a little over a year ago, pretty successful business owner here in Phoenix. And he came to me because business hasn't grown really in the last year, but that's not what he was coming to me for. He knew that the reason was his personal life was not in a good place, between his ex-wife, 4 kids, and so it was very emotional and taxing for him to even think about anything. And so I said, for our first homework assignment, after going through the first session, I said, we made a list in the session of like, what are the things you love doing for no good reason at all? The things that just make you feel alive. You don't have to explain it to anybody. It's just, I love doing this. And he gave me a few things, and going to the gym, eating dinner with his kids at the dining table, no phones, that kind of thing, riding his motorcycle. I said, your motorcycle, when was the last time you rode your motorcycle? And he goes, oh, I don't know, I think like 3 months ago, maybe. I said, all right. And you just told me this is something you love doing for no, it just makes you feel alive. Yeah. All right. You're going to ride your motorcycle 8 times before I see you in 2 weeks. He said, really, Dr. K, that's it? I said, yeah, that's it. Just go do that. Come back. He comes back in 2 weeks and he's like, why have I not? That felt great. That felt great. So sometimes when you're in that state of burnout where everything's overwhelming, everything was too much, I knew that first session, I could not give him something heavy, something to reflect on, something. It was just simply, let's skip doing something that is going to be fine, even if you don't do it for now, and ride your bike instead, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that made a massive difference.
It's amazing. It's amazing. So the littlest things, it's right, but it's right in front of us, and sometimes you just have to have a guide to say, hey, why don't you ride your bike, right?
Well, sometimes it's simply like when we're in that state, we feel like we don't deserve it. Like, I've got all these problems right now. I don't know where the cash flow is going to be in the business or anything else, and I'm going to go ride a motorcycle. Like, really?
Right.
It just doesn't compute. And yet you do it out of order. You say, okay, I'm going to go ride the bike anyway.
Yeah.
And then you come back with a refreshed mind. He's like, I can, in his case, he said, I can think clearly, process things, just the feeling of the wind in my face. It's just liberating. Now he feels better. He can think more clearly.
Right. And you actually get more work done too that way.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
How does gratitude play into emotional, financial well-being?
I think there's a way to do gratitude wrong. This might be a little controversial, but
yeah, no, that's good because everybody keeps saying, it's a very common thing.
And here's what I found, just with the clients that I've had that have come to me after being frustrated with trying this out, and
I'm grateful.
yes, it's the forced gratitude creates almost the counter effect, right? If you feel like you are pushing a rock up the hill to feel gratitude, don't push that rock. It's okay. But gratitude, the right way, is simply, let's zoom out. Just imagine you're zoomed into a map, right? That's where we are right now. But if you zoom out, you have so much more perspective. You can see the whole city. You can see maybe the state. You can see the mountain ranges. You can see all these things, the ocean nearby. So when you zoom out, you have a lot more perspective. And then from that state, when you can look at, okay, all of these things are what I would consider problems, right? But what else is going on in my life that I don't have to worry about or that is going well? And there is always something. There's always something. Nothing is ever all good or all bad. So gratitude to me is simply about being willing to look at the things that are actually going well rather than only focusing on the problems. And it's not about toxic positivity to never look at the bad things either. It's about recognizing, I'm going to be fair about this. Yes, I have these challenges, but sometimes those challenges are, I was one of my clients just this week. It was one of those, everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Big financial hits, everything, right? And the owner, he just paused for a second, kind of relayed everything, and he said, then I realized, though, the only reason I have all these problems is because I own this business. I get to have these problems. Right? I get to have these problems. Yes. I get to employ wonderful people. We do great work. I get to have these problems.
Right.
So in that process, he was able to find the gratitude in all the things that he does have and then solve those challenges, more logically.
It changes. It really does. That, you know, total perspective. So, you've worked with a lot of top leaders, and what would you say one emotional practice or that, that's consistently overlooked that could transform their lives or business?
I'll share the one that anytime I do a keynote or a company workshop, I always preface it with, if you take nothing away from this presentation, do this one thing.
Okay.
So that's the one here.
Right.
Now, a lot of top leaders already have a morning routine, right? And here's why optimizing that is really important. And so it's simply this. Think about a good morning routine actually starts the night before. So oftentimes nowadays we use our phone as an alarm clock. And what ends up happening is we go to bed, we might be scrolling on the phone. There's the blue light that disrupts our melatonin production. We're putting all these thoughts into our, yeah, I love that. We put these thoughts into our head. We put these thoughts into our head that that might inhibit us from being able to sleep very easily. And so then we fall asleep eventually. We get up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night and come back, and the phone's laying right there. We got it. I don't know. Maybe somebody texted me at 2 a.m, right? So then we check, and now it becomes even harder to fall asleep. And a few hours later, the alarm rings, and we turn it off. We're exhausted. Now the phone's in the hand, and of course, if the phone's in the hand, we're just going to check the notifications right then and there. And oftentimes we might find ourselves scrolling for half an hour, and we've given up control of our entire day before our feet even hit the ground. Because here's what happens in the morning. When we wake up, 30 minutes after waking up, we have this hormone called cortisol. It's a stress hormone. It's also an alertness hormone. It has a natural day-night pattern. It rises to its peak for the entire day about 30 minutes after we wake up, and then gradually declines as the day goes on. And that's the normal healthy pattern, because you don't want to be alert at the end of the day when you're trying to sleep. So we do this because out in nature, we've just been fasting all night, and we need to be able to find food. And so we need to be able to be on alert to be able to find food. The other thing that gets activated in the morning is our amygdala, part of our limbic system, which regulates emotion, fear, is in a heightened sense of, it's a heightened state of being able to receive information and process it. And so if we've ever had that experience, so you wake up, soon after you wake up, you see that text message or that email that just freaks us out, right? Maybe it was some bad news, and it just feels overwhelming. And then, say 2-3 hours go by, you get to the office to go finally address that email, and you look at it, you read it over, you're like, that's not as bad as it felt this morning, right? You ever had that experience?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But what is that? That's because the amygdala was heightened in the beginning of the day.
Yeah.
And so we're setting ourselves up for failure to be overstressed by
Right.
letting in all the other, the outside world's agenda for us.
It's
Instead,
amazing.
if we spend that first 30 minutes without our phone, put your phone in another room at night to charge,
Yep.
get an old school alarm clock or a sunrise alarm clock. I love those.
Right.
Doesn't
Right.
make any of the sounds. And then we can set a morning routine that inspires us. Maybe that's journaling. Maybe that's making a cup of tea. Maybe that's meditating or praying. Maybe that's doing some of these things, that spending time outside. Maybe it's doing it together, like journaling while sitting outside, going for a walk in the morning. Sunlight exposure in the morning is an incredible thing, by the way. So that I would definitely recommend. But when you do this on a consistent basis, and it doesn't have to be exactly the same every day, but with practice, all of a sudden within a few days, really, you'll start to feel less stressed, a little bit more resilient to when things happen in the world around you during the day. So that would be the one thing I'd say. If put your phone in another room at night, set up a morning me time that's inspiring to you, something that you enjoy, and get your day started on the right foot. And it doesn't have to be the full half hour. It could be 15 minutes, could be 10 minutes.
Right.
Do that.
Right.
Pick up your phone later. It'll change everything.
Yep. It'll still be there. And your point of view will be different. So I assume that's probably how you stay emotionally grounded while leading and mentoring at such a high level.
That is definitely a component of it. And I am not perfect, just like everybody. And there are days that I'll say, it's Thursday night. I've just
Oh,
got my, morning meeting with my marketing team on Friday morning. It'll be fine. I'll just play my little golf game
mm,
on my phone. I did that one time. And the following morning, I woke up just
love
like,
it.
goodness, the phone is right there on the nightstand. I'm putting it in my pocket, before I start. Like, don't look at the phone. Don't look at the phone, right? I can't help it. At some point,
Yeah.
I'm filling my water, right,
Mhm.
and I'm starting to drink it, and my hand reflexively goes into the
It's
pocket,
up.
starts
Yeah.
scrolling, and then I'm like, no, you weren't supposed to do
Stop.
this.
Right.
Yeah. So and that is just my reminder to go like, yeah, that's right, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So, uh, yes, it's being able to implement the habits. I think, and I'm sure in your case too, right? When we can implement the habits that we teach,
Yep.
it's not about being perfect, but it's about setting that standard.
Exactly.
And I think also there's an element of when we're not perfect with it, we
Mhm.
are able to understand others and help better. Um,
Compassion. Right.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I put my phone in the other room and, and then I have my morning prayerful routine that I get into. Boy, does it change things. But if I sneak out and I look at that email, it just goes, every email seems to have its own little stress to it. If you look at the whole thing energetically,
Oh yeah.
it's there's an art to it. So your new book, tell us what and where and how on your new book, right?
Yeah, so it's called The Emotionally Healthy You: How to Own Your Past and Love Your Future. It's a when you pick it up, you look at it. It's not a super long, dense book. That I wanted it to be something that is applicable.
Right.
Well, I should say it is. It's dense, but it's approachable. It's dense with actionable insights, wisdom,
Mhm.
but it is not one of those books that feels overwhelming. My goal was to make it relatable, telling my own stories, my own struggles along the way, some inspiring stories of clients. And these things allow us to kind of look into our own life and implement some of the frameworks that I talk about in the book. There is a workbook that goes along with it. And that is something I would definitely recommend because we've all read great books, but then what's the point unless we put it into action, right?
Right.
And so the frameworks and exercises that I have in the book are actually a lot of the same things that I do with my clients, the executives and business owners, the companies I work with. So I wanted it to be something that everybody could have access to, and
Right.
uh, and that's what it is. So you can get
And
it on Amazon
perfect.
uh, and check it out at emotionallyhealthyu.com.
Great. And that's how people could get in touch with you too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So my website, drkarthikramanan.com, will have all of the all my social links and where to get the book and learn about if there's anything I can do to help you, your business. That's all up there as well.
Dr. K, it's been a beautiful day to share with you all that you say. So make the way with the light and thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you.
Well, thank you, Chris. I had a great time.
All right. Dr. K, thank you for opening your heart and wisdom with us today. Friends, remember your financial well being doesn't stand alone. It's woven together with your emotional health, your sense of worth, your dreams, and your joy. If you're ready to step into an emotionally and financial free future, I encourage you to follow Dr. K on social media. Check out his book, The Emotionally Healthy You. And remember, you are worthy of the life you love from the inside out. Until next time, keep your money safe, your heart open, and your dreams alive. This is Chris Miller signing off from Money 911 because your fabulous future starts today. There's so much to learn about healthy money. I hope today's discussion brings you one step closer to securing and protecting your future. So you can get started on the right foot, go to with chrissmeller.com and schedule your free financial fitness strategy session. Thank you for listening, and please subscribe to Money 911 so you don't miss our next episode, which includes health, wealth, and peace of mind.